2024. At this time, I believe we are on discussion items, and if we may take a discussion item out of turn, I'd like to pull the item for the Israeli bonds. If we can have I think we're going to have a presentation on that. If we can do that now.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commission.
Good afternoon.
Erica Pascal with the Finance Department. DI3, per a directive passed during the October 12th City Commission meeting, the Finance Department conducted a review to determine the feasibility of purchasing the maximum amount of public bonds for the State of Israel by maintaining compliance with the city's investment policy, which is adopted by the City Commission. Our investment policy requires the following. It allows for investments in foreign sovereign governments that belong to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which Israel is currently a member of. The investment must have the highest short-term or two highest long-term rating categories at the time of purchase. Israel's current ratings do meet this requirement. And the maximum amount of the investment per issuer is 2% of the size of the investment portfolio at the time of purchase. Currently, the city's investment portfolio is approximately $1 billion, allowing for a maximum investment of $20 million. So if provided the directive by the Commission, the city has enough liquid funds to invest at the capacity without having to liquidate any investments in the portfolio, provided the current ratings do not change.
Thank you. Do any of you have questions?
I took the liberty when I read this to ask Larry about it, and he assured me that these bonds are solid, and the interest they're paying is satisfactory.
Right, and it's important to note, if it is the directive to proceed with an investment, we would have to invest for a minimum of 2 years.
Yeah, my only concern was, since they are in the middle of a war, that if they're going to be still maintain the price, because once that they fluctuate.
As of recent, we checked, the ratings are still maintaining to be investment grade.
Okay.
So
I just have a quick one. Is it backed also by the credit of the U.S. government?
Yes.
So then we're good.
No danger whatsoever.
That's what I mean. Well, hopefully.
So do I have a motion?
Motion?
It's just a discussion. We don't need. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
now
you.
we are on discussion item 4, outside employment and disclosure, elected officials. I believe this is Commissioner Pardo's item, so if you would like to start.
Sure. This item is coming up because of outside employment issues here with the city in general. And a lot of other places deal with outside employment the same as every other outside business activity. They're lumped together, whether it's a nonprofit board or whether it's a for-profit outside employment issue. It all comes to one person or one body, like the Commission, which approves it. So it's a way to have it disclosed, and it's also a way to get an approval. That's something that makes sense for the body involved. And so the thinking here was to be able to have a system that documents the outside employment and approves it, just like many other organizations already have, for electeds and appointed.
Appointed. I thought about this. I agree with you, 100%. And this is a nice issue to include in the charter review. And because remember, that any change that we're going to do to the charter has to come before the voters. And this is something that can be discussed, and always also taken into consideration. We have our job is considered part-time, which should be full-time, but we have you are. You have outside employment. You have your business. Madam Chair is an attorney. You see, So what we have to do is find some way that disclosure has to be total. You see, total. And but we have we had asked this question before, and particularly when you are an attorney, there is the client-attorney privilege. You see, that you don't have to disclose who your client is. And this is a touchy subject. That's why I think that we should definitely discuss this, because I know what you're talking about, and it gives a lot of material for people to criticize and talk about the city and give the city a bad name. You see, I agree with you.
Commissioner Reyes, just to clarify, the only thing that we would be approving is the fact that she has outside income generated from her practice, not their clients, not anything like that.
Okay.
We can put it under charter review. The only reason I had it as a separate discussion item is because the charter review can take a very long period of time. Whereas if we wanted to move a little bit quicker, we could decide to do something the same way we did with the independent auditor general.
Yes.
You know, that could have been in charter review, but we didn't. We decided to.
Okay. In order to do that, we have to bring an ordinance to the
Correct.
You see, Greco, Mr. Greco, how you doing?
I am well, sir. How are you?
If we are going to place a question about outside employment, I think you have to think about it. You have to look at it, shoot, and come up with an ordinance that it is not. I mean, we are not infringing on the right of the individuals or working someplace else.
Correct. If the commission is directing the city attorney's office to look at how
Yes.
outside employment can be regulated for elected officials, correct? Because
For elected officials.
And I would add appointed position.
And appointed.
Yeah.
See, because if you work for the city of Miami, whatever you do with your time when you live here, it is your time.
correct. Obviously,
If
But
I may-
as long as you disclose it.
If I may,
Okay, I agree with you.
if I may,
Yes.
every year we are required to disclose sources of income on our financial disclosure that is required to go to the state. I am not in favor of adding an additional layer. I don't need anybody to check whether or not I can have outside employment. I am a part-time public servant. The Commission on Ethics also chimes in on any employment that may or may not be a conflict of interest for me as a public servant. I have to disclose enough already on the required form of the financial disclosure that has to go to the state. I have to say who my income sources are, where they come from. I don't think we need an additional level of, and certainly none of you can approve or disapprove how I make a living, because this is a part-time job. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it, but there is already a mechanism for me to disclose my employment.
Madam Chair, what I'm saying, okay, excuse me, what I'm saying, because I don't want to be misunderstood. I know that whatever you do in your business and your profession, whatever, that's fine, as long as it does not do business with the city of Miami. That's where the controversy comes from. You see.
Entiendo.
You see.
Entiendo.
And we have to
However,
make that a little stronger.
Entiendo. However, there are guidelines, there are rules that we must follow. There's conflict of interest. We're all giving a training on that from the Commission on Ethics. We all know that we can't X and we can't Y, or we can this and we can that. For me personally, I don't need anyone to police how I earn a living. And I don't need anyone to police to say I'm doing something right or I'm doing something wrong. And I make that disclosure every year on my financial disclosure that's required July 1st. That's where I'm coming from.
Yes, I know.
I don't need that. Commissioner?
Just explaining because I work under a process that does do that, and it's not really intended to police anyone. What it's actually intended to do is to protect us, because we provide the information, it's disclosed, it's out there in the public, nobody can come back later and say, hey, you hid this from, the public view, and ethics will rule on it if we ask for an opinion on it. It
But
doesn't.
that is the prudent thing to do as an elected
Well,
official.
but that's left up to.
But that's left up to our colleagues. So again, I'm not policing any of you. If you've, and I have checked with the Commission on Ethics on employment offers that I have received. And based on my discussion with the Commission of Ethics, I've made a choice, one way or the other. Again, what I'm saying is there are mechanisms in place for this already. I don't feel
I
that we
think
need
if-
to do an extra level, because we should, each one of us, be able to do that.
I think it's a slippery slope if you just leave it up to everyone. I don't think it would even be coming up if it hadn't already been an issue in the city. So I think it would benefit us by just putting something in place that protects us and becomes routine.
Yes, I believe, and I agree with you, Madam Chair, and it's not that I want to police you or anything. My only concern, it is the disclosure of your clients. If they do business with the city of Miami, you should recluse yourself from representing those people, of doing business with those persons that they do business with the city of Miami.
But we
And
already
there
do.
should be, but that should be a penalty. Should be a penalty if you don't do it. You see, it is either to bring it to the ethics commission, because we don't. It happens and we don't do anything about it. No, it doesn't get to the ethics commission, to Arrojo, for example, unless somebody, any one of us, you see, or any one of the public, they make an accusation. What I want to do is to strengthen it a little bit. I mean, not that we are policing. I don't know how it's going to be done, how it can be done, but I would like to have it a little strength, a little teeth to the requirement to inform outside employment. You see? Right now, listen, I don't have any outside employment. I mean, it could be easy for me to say that, but because I've retired. But what I'm saying is the good name of the city has been, totally dirty up, I would say, because of things that are happening. And what I want is to try to curtail that, that activity to happen again, you see? And then to have some teeth. I don't know what we can do. You're an attorney.
Right.
Can
Well,
you
what I'm
think
saying-
about it and then bring it?
Right. Well, what I'm saying is there are already teeth. You cannot file your financial disclosure and not be truthful on that financial disclosure. And if it is determined that you have not been truthful with that financial disclosure, there are ramifications that everyone will have to deal with. So I'm saying once a year, we do have to disclose our employment. I don't need to do it more than once a year.
But a disclosure is different than an evaluation of it. Meaning, what does it mean? A conversation about what that is. Anyone can just disclose something, and you've complied once you provided it.
Could that be, that evaluation could be part of the job description of the independent auditor?
Yeah, it could.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's the only
Absolutely
thing
it
that we
could.
can do.
Yes.
And that doesn't interfere with anybody.
No.
Is that fine with you?
No, none of it is going to be fine with me. I'm not voting for it because, again, I am saying that I do not need an additional level of whatever you want to call it, which however you want to say it. I am not going to conduct myself as if I'm doing anything wrong with having outside employment, and I don't need any one of you to evaluate or anyone else to evaluate my outside employment.
It is
And,
not
and
your
I'm,
understanding.
I'm firm on
It
that.
is-
So let's let Commissioner Gabella speak on that, who I heard is a capitalist.
So you guys are you're gonna put the hot potato. where
No,
you're-
not, it's, you haven't said anything.
No, because look, because I'm different than you guys in this, like Manolo said, I have a business and my business is the Jaguar business. You know, I've bought, sold, own them, Jaguars all my life, you know, restored whatever. And so my customers, you know, don't have a conflict per se, right? With the city because I'm in a completely different, structure, business than you guys are, but I'm hearing both sides. I'm hearing both sides of what I'm going to do. What you guys on this because you guys are the ones that are going to be mostly affected. I'm not going to be that affected, honestly.
No, I'm not affected at all.
Right, exactly.
I'm not
Not
affected.
I am.
So I'm going to pay attention
Not
to what.
affected, has his own business, but we should not create policy that is specific to us. We should create policy that looks forward to when we're not here. How will that affect the persons that are coming after us? Not just, we can't look at issues or create legislation in a vacuum for just us,
But
right?
so what I think Manolo's trying to say and Pardo is that let's say that I had employment with a lobbying firm that's always lobbying here. Okay, that could be a potential conflict, right? Is what I think you guys are saying, something of that nature. But my question is isn't that already on the books? Do we have something like that we have disclosed?
No, I mean,
Or-
we write whatever the outside employment is, and we've complied. I mean, there isn't really an assessment of or a discussion about.
But where there is a question, then that is what the Commission on Ethics is for. Where there's a question, it's not for me to question you.
No.
Right?
I got
It's
that.
not for
Right.
me.
Or for me to question you.
Right.
or-
So you would go, if you thought, well, may there be a conflict? We have a resource and we can get an opinion and you get that opinion, but we are required to disclose other sources of income on our financial disclosure, which is required every year. And I feel like that is sufficient. I don't feel like I need an extra layer of bureaucracy, particularly when it involves how I feed my family.
Well, we have a problem doing it like Manolo's saying through the.
No, I mean, I think, listen, I think the issue here is it's a very slippery slope. I can write down, I'm an advisor at First Horizon, and I've complied, right? I submit it, and then I may just be working during the day, and I just met a new client, and we're working on an estate plan, and it has not entered my mind that this person does business with the city. If someone were to ask me, have you checked all of your clients? Do any of them do business with the city? I would be grateful. Because now I'm like, oh, you know what? I just got some new clients. Let me double check and make sure that that's not anything that I'm holding. On my side of the fence, in financial services, they have that. And it's really not a big deal. It's for us, actually. It's meant to protect us and protect our city.
That's right.
And protect us as a governing body. It's not really, and it's not that much extra. It's simply, as Commissioner Reyes was suggesting, having the independent auditor general take a look at a brief conversation.
That is the way the county does it. If financial disclosures, you see, are reviewed by who review our financial disclosure?
Who reviews our financial disclosure? Oh, I can tell you who reviews our financial disclosure. The Miami Herald. The Miami Herald.
Yeah.
The residents of the city of Miami.
Kind of too late.
As soon as our financial disclosures are filed, multiple people
Yes, but-
are reviewing our financial disclosures. There is nothing that's going to get beyond the
Miami
Miami
Herald.
Herald or the residents of the city of Miami.
Okay.
Trust me, everyone is looking
But
at
do
our
we
financial
really?
disclosures.
But do we really want the Miami Herald to be that party instead of us?
They are that party. It is not whether we want it or not. That is reality. They are that party. And it's not, I think you're oversimplifying it. It is not, you put something on your financial disclosure because you have to say, if if whoever your client is contributes, I believe the threshold is 20% of your yearly income, you have to disclose who that person is. You have to. There's no getting around that because it is required on that form. And if you are not honest, if you falsify that document, you can be criminal. There can be criminal prosecution come against you. That has teeth. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know about anybody else, but criminal
Okay.
prosecution against me is a deterrent.
The last thing that I'm going to say, and I think we should go, leave this because this is a discussion item. We are not going to be doing anything here. But one thing that the last thing that I want to say is, what happens when you omit that some
That's,
income?
omission is the same as falsifying a document.
Falsifying, but
Yes.
but who looks into if it is omitted, something is omitted or not? That's the only thing that I want. I mean, if you're doing everything over the table, on the table, there's no problem. There's no problem. You just every year you do it. But how about if you're getting salaries and perks
You're
from
talking-
somebody
you're-
and you don't disclose it?
What you're talking about is a person that's not going to be honest in the first place. So no
Okay.
matter what guardrails you put in place,
The Miami
they're not
Herald
gonna
is going to
follow
bring
it.
it out. I know what you're saying.
Right. That's what we want.
They're not going to follow it. So the example that you're giving is a person that has the propensity to be a cheater, and they will cheat. They will find a way, irrespective of what you put in place, to cheat. And I believe what we already have, what we
Well-
are required to do, is sufficient.
Okay, let me just say, I'm just going to say this, if I'm allowed. The one thing is that we seem to be having a problem with it, without going into details or personalities, right? And we're discussing how best to do this. Is let's say, and this job is qualified as part-time, right? That's what we all understand. But really, if you're going to do it right, Pardo, Manolo, that it's a full-time job. Honestly speaking. If you're
More
gonna do it
than a
right, it's
full-time job. Because I can tell you that I have events
Yep.
every single day. I have events every single day in my community, every single day. You have to steal time for yourself. This is
I agree.
a full-time job
This is a full-time
with
job.
a less than part-time compensation.
No doubt about it, if you're going to do it right. Now, the only thing I would say, and you ladies and gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that's a problem here that I see is that, let's say you got 10 jobs, okay, or 8 jobs, right? And then that kind of
Why are you
would
picking
be-
on the only Caribbean person
What's
on
that?
the dais? Why are you picking on the only Caribbean person on the dais? It's a joke. You didn't get it. Caribbean,
I'm sorry.
Caribbean
Right.
people always
They
have
have jobs.
Caribbean people always have more than one job. And I do. And I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just that sometimes, so the public perception is, this guy's a commissioner, he's got 10 jobs, he's not doing our job because he's got 10 jobs, right? I think that's part of the problem that we're having here. Let's call it, a spade. Let's call it how it is, okay? And I think that's part of the perception that maybe you're trying to,
Hard against.
exactly, to take care of. And I think that one's a problem. The perception that, we're not doing our jobs because we got, 8 other jobs or 7 other jobs out there with firms. Maybe, I don't know. But that's my 2 cents. I'm going to go with whatever you guys.
But that's,
we
again, that's not the issue here on the dais because 2 of the commissioners are retired.
Right.
They're, right? Those 2 are retired. You own your own business. I'm
Further
telling
you guys.
Right. It affects us. And I'll tell
Right.
you, I'm a lawyer. I'm a professor. I'm a property owner. I have multiple jobs. That has been disclosed on my financial disclosure. So I don't see, and prior to me getting elected, I had a client that did work with the city of Miami. And when I got elected, I no longer represented that client. So I don't feel the need for it.
What we're doing is a brainstorming here. And the only thing that I'm going to ask from you, Mr. Navarro,
You guys want to buy some Jaguars? I got a real good deal. I can sell you 50 and you get a real good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to add, as the other person that has, significant outside employment, I would find it very helpful. I would view it as a guardrail, and I was kind of shocked the way that we handled our disclosures versus the way that I have to do it professionally, which I feel provided me good guardrails. But it's not her. We don't need to guard against anyone. We're just putting some guardrails so that things that have happened don't happen again.
I know that you, Madam Chair, you will never hide any of your source of income. I know that because I know you, okay? But we're not talking about you. We're talking about, and I think that you said something that it is very important. We are legislating for the future, you see? It is not that any one of us is going to do that. But there is the danger that happened before, that we can have some elected officials that will have clients that come before them. You see, and that's what brought so much discussion about the city of Miami, and that I would say that I'm not going to say fine, but that cloud that exists over the city of Miami we have given them ammunition to talk about corruption and lack of transparency and all of that. The city has done that. And that cloud is the one that we want to dissipate. It's nothing against anybody. It is just trying to bring more.
Right. I don't think it's against anyone per se. What I'm saying is we already have the mechanism to address this. This is what I'm saying. We already have the mechanism. And I would be glad to leave this as a discussion item. One of our colleagues isn't here, had a family emergency, and has asked for consideration if we're going to take any vote that we do it when they're back. But we've talked about it, and
as I said before, this is just a discussion item. And discussion items is just to have a brainstorm so we can talk about it. We don't have to take any action or anything. It is just to talk about it and to think about it and see if we need more proof that this is something else is needed. Well, just to bring it on the table and then we will discuss it. So I think that we should go on the next discussion item. Okay.
For clarity, DI-7, we don't need to discuss that because we've already taken care of that.
Oh, yes.
I'm confirming with my colleagues that you agree. We've already taken
Correct.
care of it. Okay.
Yes.
So that brings us to DI-5, campaign finance reform.
What I was thinking of with that item is the Miami Beach ordinance and looking at their ordinance and see how it would work for us in the city of Miami. Briefly, they prohibit contributions from vendors with the city, lobbyists on procurement, real estate developers, real estate development issues, and it also prohibits campaign consultants from lobbying for the city for 12 months. There's a $500 fine if there's any violation, and the contribution, whichever contribution was made, goes to the city.
So if I can, for me, if that can be provided, because I don't have that, and we can talk about it at our next commission meeting, if you can
Great.
give us all of that, and we can look over it, and then we can come back and discuss that.
That's right. I'm just going to, that is food for thought, you know. Long time ago, I mean, when I was young and my hair was black, you see I have black hair before, okay, long time ago, there was a committee talking about campaign reform. And I said, you know, campaign reform, it is it has a beautiful name. You see, we are going to limit the amount of money that people are going to receive. We are going to preclude some people to come before that, before us, and all of that. Okay. But we want to level the playing field for everybody that is running. Fantastic. I agree with that. And being a person that 7 times ran without any money, you see, my opponents, they always had triple the amount of money that I had when I was, at least, when I was running. I know what you mean, and to be, the playing field is not level. But unless, and I want to say this, and I want you to think about it, unless, and I don't know if it is, if it is not against the law or we are infringing on some people's rights, but unless we limit the amount of money that can be spent on a campaign, we are doing nothing. Because whatever we do is always going to be circumvented by the persons that they have have the copy of the money and want to get somebody elected. You see, first, I remember that long time ago, it was $500 maximum per contribution, $500. And I said, you can put it at $50. If I want to give you $10,000, I'm going to find a way that, and it has been proved, that sometimes they have been contributions for the whole family, you see, and everybody else, 100 people, they'll give you $50 or $500. You see, I will get to my candidate the amount of money that I want to raise. So this is something that we have to think about. How are we going to go about it? Because I know we want to level the playing field. We want to level the playing field. But we have to be careful because, do something that really has teeth. But otherwise, it's...
Yeah, I will tell you that since this ordinance has already been in place, the general thinking around it is that it has done something, but as you correctly mentioned, there are a lot of ways to get around everything, but at least we're putting a first step forward.
Okay.
One of the ways if you're really going to do it, what you do is you limit the maximum total dollar amount that you can collect in one campaign. Because forget about the 1,000 or the 5.
Doesn't.
But that ain't never going to work. You know why? Because then we'll have litigation
Either that or limit the amount you're going to spend. Well, it's the same.
Right. It's the same. But then on the other side, you're going to have litigation that we're violating the constitutional rights to back a candidate up, if they want to do that. But I think it would level. I was like you, Manolo, for a long time. We ran a campaign, very little money to a lot of money. So I know what, I ran 4 times, and I know what the deal is. I can,
yes.
and I would be, willing to look that over and see how we can tweak it. And by the way, the $1,000 per limit, is that a state thing? Is that us, an ordinance here in the city of Miami, or is that state law? The $1,000.
I believe it's state law.
State law.
It's a state law.
State law.
That's state law. That's a state law.
So how would we change it?
It was increased. It was increased a long time ago.
Well, essentially, what you'd be doing is making it from 1,000 to 0, right? For
Right.
certain categories.
For certain categories. So what we're saying is that people that do business with the city cannot contribute. It's 0. They cannot give money. People that are real estate developers doing work with the city can't do it. People with real estate development themes can't do it.
But
that are doing business with the city.
But Mr. Pardo, listen. I am old enough to let that sound fine, and that's fantastic. I'm all for it. But that's going to be circumvented because if I do business with the city, and I am a developer, I am not going to contribute to your campaign $1,000. If I want to give you $10,000, I'm going to get 10 people that I'm going to give $1,000 each, and they're going to, because that's the way it has been done. That's the way it has been done. And you see, we have to find a way not to circumvent it.
Right, but I also think it's important to make a first step instead of just giving in the towel and saying, okay, well, whatever.
No, I'm not.
I think
I'm
creating
proposing-
categories that prohibit people doing business with the city from giving anything at all at least makes it a little bit harder. Yes, they can circumvent, but they have to make an effort.
If it is within, we are not violating people's right. If we can limit the amount of money that they can or they can collect, or they can spend, I think that'd be more. And let's think about this too, you see, because there are certain things that we can do, you see, that.
Well, the other one is the fax. That's a big one because that's even unlimited. And the only thing you can't do there is you can't say vote, you can't put the number of certain things, but everything else goes, and that's a big one because if somebody gives you a $50,000 shot, $100,000 shot, that changes the game.
But that's federal, if they give it to you for the pack, that's federal. You cannot limit that.
Yeah, I know, but that's
I mean,
that's something that maybe
and you can use, and you know what packs are used for most of the times. They are used to attack, and are used in a way that it shouldn't be the way that it was intended.
it was meant for. Correct.
You see. Okay.
So if you can give us all a copy of that
I will.
legislation, and we
Thank
can,
you.
we
Thank
can
you all.
revisit it. And the last discussion item is the City Charter Committee establishment.
So we actually have spent a lot of time talking about things that would fall under the
That's right. You're absolutely right.
the Charter Review Commission, including outside employment and all these other issues. So it shows like how much we need it. What we had been discussing with the administration is to direct them to do an RFP for a consultant that looks at the best practice in establishing this committee. Why? Because we did this 10 years ago. Each commission picked a person. The mayor guided it. We had like 17 recommendations. I think we implemented 2, maybe 3. So there's this disconnect between implementation and the structure that we're using. And I'd like to see us put out an RFP and see what consultants come back with in a reasonable price where we can look at the best kind of structures as a commission before even moving to enact that.
Madam Chair, if I may, what you are suggesting is that it's place an RFP for a company that will do that charter review?
No, they would give us a structure, almost like a best kind of structure with the
Okay.
data behind it
And
for us to implement.
okay, I have nothing against that, but I think that all of us would like to have a representative in it. If we are going to have a charter review, all of us should have some input in it. Okay, that it has to go that way. Okay.
Agreed.
Well, I definitely agree with Commissioner Reyes that if the City of Miami has a charter review committee, that it should be made up of persons who will be affected
That's right.
by the charter, which is the residents of City of Miami.
right.
So
Also agree.
I support
That's a
continuing to have members of our constituency to address
To
those
be appointed-
issues.
appointed
Yes,
to it.
yes. Commissioner Gabella,
What's that?
your
Regarding
thoughts
the charter?
on your
No,
thoughts
I
on
agree. We're gonna do it. Everybody has to have one person, so it's fair for everybody. We all feel comfortable, and I'm willing to go along if that's what this body.
And in order to do that, we don't need to spend money on a
No, I actually think we just said, well, the way we represent is by us putting one person. That may be one way of doing it, but there are other ways of doing it that include representation from us and then certain disciplines that are important in that process. So what I'm suggesting is for us to review what a consultant, which of course will include our input in it as well, but for us to review what a consultant would consider a good practice in the establishment of it. So that, if we're doing this thing and it's a long-term thing and we do it once every 10 years and it didn't work last time, we have a better chance of it working this time because we had an outside consultant that does this kind of work review it and give us some advice.
How do you feel about that?
I think that we can find qualified persons. I don't know because it would be my first time with charter review, so I can't really say
Yep.
what the best practices are, other than I know that a best practice would be to hear from the voters on what they want and include them. So if you want to have professionals, because we have professionals in our communities, we have, folks like people who come to the commission meeting regularly to have public comment, they have very strong opinions on how we should be managing the city. So, you know,
I agree with that.
up with the budget discussion, I don't know, we have a whole bunch of money to, you know, spend on a consultant. I don't know that we need a consultant to do that,
As you,
but I don't,
I mean, as you can imagine, many cities do charter review, and there are different structures in the way that they do their charter review. And we can actually look at which are some of the most effective ones, and at least consider that information in our, you know, in what we finally decide. We may end up deciding, hey, let's just do what we did before. It's, you know, we're good. We heard.
I don't take an issue with getting other ideas. I don't, you know, which I know none of us will vote to approve a process that does not include our community. So
Agreed.
if somebody has an idea that I don't know of, or, you know, could teach us something, I'm not opposed to that, is what I'm saying.
Madam Chair, if I may. Mr. Weiss, you were
Yes, sir.
here the last time that charter review was done. How was the procedure started, the process started? How was it?
So essentially, my recollection of it was that, number one, it was driven by, I think, a commissioner at the time who ultimately became mayor. And we had done charter review programs in the past, almost decennial times, you know, after the census comes out every 10 years. And so we just organically created the charter review committee. I think it was perhaps, it seemed like a very large board. It was more than one per person. I think it was two per person, then the mayor, and then other selections. So it's, we can do it however you'd like it, you know, essentially. But
You see, I am, personally, I don't know anybody else. I am against all those huge boards that have 15, 20 people, because you can never get results out of it. And there is, I mean, it's very, very hard to reach consensus. You see, I'd rather have individuals that they are very much, I mean, in touch with the community, with a type of government. You see, that they know if even I'm inclined to have attorneys also that are part of our community. You see, because they are, the charter is it's mostly I mean, written in legalese, okay, that they understand what is going on. You see, and if one of us can participate, well, I will volunteer Madam Chair to be part of that committee. but I think that we should follow what we have done before, and I don't personally, I don't believe, and I'm going to tell you that I was a consultant, and I'm an economist. I have done a bunch of analysis and consulting jobs, and I don't have anything about consultants or anything, but most of the times it's whatever you propose is not going to be done. So I believe that we did it before. Let's us get together and decide how many people should be in the charter. I mean, it be in the review committee, and what type of expertise they should bring into I mean, what would that bring?
Can I proffer maybe a little bit of middle ground that might help the commissioner on this? Would you like us to consult with the Florida League of Cities
I would like.
and the Miami-Dade County League of Cities and
That's
see
it?
if we can draw out what the best practices have been in other municipalities and counties for doing charter review, and then present a bunch of examples?
I would love that. If you know outside consultants, and you can inquire with them as to, I guess, pro bono, just on the cuff.
Good.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
we have government
And to
consultants that we can
also,
lean
I know
on.
Seminole County, for example, has a pretty reputable charter review commission. There are other counties that currently use them, and see how they're formed, and maybe bring it back to us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the League of Cities is actually a great reference because we have access to every municipal government, both at the municipal and county level, and we can ask them, hey, if you've done charter review. By the way, those questions get posed all the time to us. Like, I'll get a question from the league and say, hey, we're whatever city, we're about to do X. What has been the practice in Miami for that? And then we respond, and they'll get like 50 responses.
Okay.
Right? If
That'd be great.
That'd be
Thank you.
very inexpensive.
So
That'd
are
be
we
very
gonna-
inexpensive.
are we
Shouldn't be
gonna-
very expensive.
Are we going
No,
to
no,
so we are directing the city manager to get information from the Florida League of Cities
Yes.
and other municipalities as practicable regarding charter review committee process.
Okay, that's a directive. You
Yeah,
don't need to vote on it.
and not just the Florida League. We'll do Miami-Dade County,
Miami-Dade
Cities,
County.
U.S. League. I mean, we'll do some outreach across a number of different platforms and ask for, hey, what has been past practice in your particular city?
And
I'm
you'll
sure we'll
provide a
get-
report to us.
and
How
then
long
we'll
do you
prov-
think, do you think it will take for that?
Just, I think at the second meeting in February, I should be able to come back with some ideas.
Mr. Manager,
Make it the first meeting in March. I don't want to, you never know.
Oh, okay.
So first meeting in March, he'll come back to us with a report. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Manager, and I said it's
I
a
have one quick
directive.
question. I just have one quick question for procurement. And do you have any experience having put out this kind of RFP or?
Good afternoon, Annie Perez, Director of Procurement. Not in this particular arena, but Commissioner Pardo, in your briefing the other day, we have preliminarily started some market research, and one of the things we were looking at was the Florida League of Cities. So we do have experience putting out RFPs for consultants, just we've never done for the charter. So this is a little new, but we are doing extensive market research.
Thank you so much for your help.
Madam Chair, if I may, but we don't need to have an RFP now. I mean, we are directing the city manager to consult and get information or assistance from the Florida League of Cities, as well from other cities that have gone through charter reviews. And I want to add that their decisions were implementable.
Understood, Commissioner, and that's part of the market research that we were doing.
You will do in-house.
Yes,
Okay,
in-house
fine.
market research
Fine.
that'll help the city manager get there.
In-house, in-house.
Do I have
Okay.
a motion?
I agree with that.
Motion? I have a motion?
Motion, or second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And
You're very welcome.
that shall conclude the City of Miami Commission meeting for January 25th, 2024. Thank you all for attending.
Madam
Thank you.